You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Cabral Concept. It's great to have you here today on this Motivation and Mindset Monday, where I can't wait to share with you a compilation of some of my favorite sayings out there. I'm someone that loves to do a lot of motivational-based work for myself, for looking into where I can find inspiration. Sometimes it's from books, sometimes videos, sometimes podcasts, and sometimes it's simply being and listening and walking and looking at the world all around me to draw some of that inspiration from. So one of the things that I've done is really over the years, I've kind of journaled, I've looked at, and I've read a lot of books, whether it be from Zig Ziglar or it be from Jim Rohn or Tony Robbins, or it would be from Nightingale and Conant, a number of people out there. Again, another big one that people know, as well as Napoleon Hill. But when you look at it and you've done enough reading, this is why I tell people all the time, I need you to read more, not just articles, but books. And I need you to listen more to the older audios and just going back that these principles have been around forever. So you can really first start to see them in the 1800s and 1900s when you go back and you read like a lot of the books, because we still have really good books and really good reprints of books from the 1800s and early 1900s. They were talking about the same principles, the same things. We call it the law of attraction now, but before it was just simply principles of how to manifest things in your life, not through any type of woo-woo or anything like that, but actually this is how the world works. And, they talked about that, and they talked about creating your reality, but first in your mind, and then being able to go out there and actually manifest that in the real world. So I love reading all that, and then I love reading that, okay, well, what are people saying now? And it's essentially the same thing. And it comes down to a set of principles that I believe that people really need to live by. And when I was looking at that, and I was looking for more inspiration of how I can put this together for you today into one Motivation and Mindset Monday, that I believe, draw inspiration from myself that will motivate me, and that I hope that it will do the same for you, I stumbled across this image that's called basically the 7 rules of life. I've looked many times to try to give the proper due to who created it, but it's one of those things where I think that this is, again, a compilation of hundreds of years, really thousands of years when you go back and you can see these things being taught in Greek-based philosophy, and again, all the way back in Ayurveda. But here's the thing, is that who put them together originally? It's probably impossible to say, because these are lifelong principles that we need to just embody. And I want to take you through those today. I really feel that if you make them a part of your life, you will be an overall happier person. You will be more motivated, yes. You will be more inspired, no doubt about it, but you'll be happier. And that's really what we're all about. We're in search of, yes, things, right? We're in search of achieving goals and the being, right? And the doing. But at the end of the day, we're doing those things because we believe it will alleviate some type of suffering or bring us some type of joy. Move us further away from fear and bring us towards love. And that's really what we're looking at. And so I want to get into it right now. And I think this first principle is a really nice nutshell and encapsulation of a great starting place, what you need to do to at least move forward. And that's simply to make peace with your past so it won't disturb your present. It's a really nice way of looking at that, meaning that you don't necessarily have to say, well, I don't really want to forgive that person. I don't want to look past that event. I don't want to move on from my childhood or move on from specific traumas. And again, I know that they're not easy. And I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that this is black and white. But what I am saying is this. For you, I need you, in order to be happy in the future, to make peace with your past. Because at the end of the day, it is your past. And again, I'm not trying to be insensitive and say that it's easy to move forward, but we do have to let it go. And that's because what you carry with you into the future is always going to weigh you down. And it's one of those things that I say as well is I don't believe that you should ever forget your past. I'm not saying that. Because those people that do forget their past, is a great quote, right, are destined to repeat it. So their future will look very much like their past if they don't learn from that. So for me, it's not that I want you to ever forget, but I do want you to let it go. And I want you to make peace with it so that you can lighten the load, that you can feel more at ease. And it's one of those things where you can start to have less bandwidth playing in the background, less of those, giant internet tabs like I have on my computer left open. Close them all. Really let them go and move forward, move on. The second point is a big part of this too, and it will help you so that you don't continue to carry more baggage into your future. And that's to simply think of this. You have to live by this. What people think of you is none of your business. You need to learn to ignore a lot of the chit chat and chatter in the background. Sometimes it's from very well-meaning and well-intentioned people. Your parents telling you what you can and can't do, right? Your spouse saying that that's not a right fit for you, whether it be your career or, trying to get to the gym or become something new in life. You have to ignore that. At some point, it has to be about you. It really does. And so what I need you to think about, and if you're someone that's big on social media, no matter what you do, there's going to be people out there who don't like what you're doing. Simply not because of you, but simply because of what you're doing in your life that they wish they could do. And by the way, they could do, but choose not to because they have their own excuses. So remember, at all times and with everything, whether you're trying to improve in your relationships, your spirituality, a new endeavor, a new hobby, a new outlet, a new career, or transform your body. A lot of people don't want you to lose the weight, right? They don't want you to start to get healthier because they feel like they might be left behind. Same with wellness. If you get well, what happens? Do you let go of the people who are still not well, are still in their space because they didn't want to move forward along with you? It's my opinion that get yourself well in every area of your life and then reach your arm down to pull others up. Now, only the people who want to come up will extend their arm, and that's okay. But keep that arm down there. Be willing to help other people and lift them up. The amount of happiness that you will derive from getting yourself in a position of success in anything or a position to be able to help others and then helping them, you will find true happiness in that. You really will. Help yourself and then help others. There's that analogy that if you're ever on an airplane and those oxygen masks drop down, you're supposed to put yours on first before helping the person beside you because you are no good to anyone else if you can't help them. So get yourself well in every area of your life and then share that with others. Number 3 is this. I love this one too. Give it time. And that's because time heals almost everything. The worst situations that you've ever been in your life, in hindsight, looking back, they probably weren't as bad, right? They're probably not as bad as you thought they were at the time. When you look back, oftentimes you can only see, in hindsight, a year later, 2 years later, that it may have just been the best thing that's ever happened to you. And I go back and I talk about that in my own health as well. Had I not gotten that sick, would I be where I am today? Living a life that I truly love, that I enjoy, doing work that I know is meant to be my purpose. Or let's say I got sick and I got well within 6 months. Would that have been the best thing for me? Maybe in terms of just enjoying college in my early 20s a little bit more. Maybe. But I still really enjoyed them. I did. It was from a different perspective. But what I learned over 10 years of not being able to find my answer taught me more than anything else I could possibly have learned in life. It made me grow up from a mental maturity perspective that I probably wouldn't have gotten until I was in my maybe 60s or 70s. I wouldn't have seen the shortness of life. I wouldn't have seen how you really have nothing without your health. How hard it is that some people have to struggle. And I had my struggle back then with my health, but it affected everything. It affected spirituality, it affected my relationships, it affected my body, it affected my career, right? It affected everything. I had no energy. I was irritable. I was run down. I couldn't sleep. I mean, it affected everything. And so, again, I have empathy when people say, I can't do this and I can't do that. Listen, I understand. I know where you're coming from, but you still have to move forward. That's the thing. You have to move forward because your answers do not lie in the current place that you're at right now. You have to look outside of yourself. So I got dejected, I got depressed, and I just stopped, every time I had a relapse. That was it. But after a full few weeks, pull myself together and say, okay, what's the next thing to try? And that's it. And I didn't know it then, but I know it now, that anybody who does not give up will eventually succeed. Because there's only so many paths that you can take. I just kept reading books, kept implementing, kept trying new supplements, kept, just doing and doing and doing, right? Then eventually I read the book, reached out to the person who wrote it, and even though I had a lot of answers before that, they tied everything together, right? I was getting well, and they put it right over the edge, right? They pulled it all together for me. And then from there, I had my answer. Didn't mean I got well the next day. I want people to always remember that. When I met my mentor, Dr. Pete, I didn't get well the next day. It was still months, and most likely in there, I had days and weeks where I didn't feel very well. But I was on the path. I eventually understood. I continued to work that process. I got well, and then I said, okay, if this information helped me, how much deeper can I go? How do I tie all of this together? So remember, when you seem like you are in the worst of the worst, you have to give it time. You really do. You have to understand that in the moment, things seem like you can't recover from them. You can't. But you do, and you will. The fourth one is this: never compare yourself to anyone else. Never think about this. Oh, I wish I had that person's career. I wish I had that person's body. I wish I had that person's health. Here's the dangerous thing about that. You have no idea about their overall life. So let's say you trade with someone who you believe has the best body in the world. Well, okay, maybe they have a great body. How long will that last? And let's say maybe it lasts the entire life. What about the mental health? Maybe that person, how do you know that you won't take on that same mental health? How do you know that you want the same sacrifices that person might make to get in that type of shape? So we have to be really careful with comparing ourselves to others. We have to make sure that we're simply trying to create the best version of us within the body we were given: ectomorph, mesomorph, endomorph, vata, pitta, kapha, and combinations of those. You can't change the bone structure of a vata, a pitta, or a kapha. And it's more challenging for an endomorph to lose weight, and it's more challenging for an ectomorph to put on weight. You can do it, and everyone should be the best version of them. They should be lean, and they should be healthy. Because, simply put, not from a vanity perspective, the higher your BMI, the more overweight you are, the more chance for disease. That's it. So I like to look at it from strictly a health-based perspective as well. Really important. But just be careful. Be careful comparing yourself. And one other thing, and this is kind of, I would say along the same lines, is that, and I did talk about this on a previous Motivation and Mindset Monday, when you pass judgment, good or bad, you were saying something about yourself. So you are judging yourself. This gets a little bit deep right now, but one of the reasons why I didn't always have the easiest time growing up, with religion, is because I was always felt like I was judging. Was I good or was I bad? And what did that mean? Was I going to be punished or not punished? It was the same thing with family, with religion, with school. Like, okay, if I didn't do well, this was going to happen. And it was always almost about, am I living up to whatever I'm supposed to be? Religion says I'm supposed to be this. My family says I'm supposed to be this. In a relationship, I'm supposed to be this. Like, well, what about me? Does what I say or how I feel matter? Or am I supposed to live up to everyone's expectations? And eventually, I was able to shed that. But really not until my later 20s, my mid to later 20s, somewhere around like 27, it kind of all pulled together for me. I was learning. I mean, every day I was studying and I was learning all through my late teens and early 20s, reading, trying to figure out kind of what I missed, right? Which they don't teach in school. And that came from health. And it also came, though, from a lot of self-improvement. I mean, it really did. And I don't want to ever deny that. I've read, out of the thousands of books that I read, probably 500, no exaggeration, on some form of self-improvement. Some of it's psychology-based, so it was psychology-based textbooks. And, but a lot of it is, how does this mind work? How does this body work? How do I improve? And sometimes it's just straight self-improvement, like visualize this, do this. And it was just repetition, like, okay, like everyone's saying this, I should probably listen to it. There has to be something to this. And I would try it. And you know what? It would work. Not consistently. It wouldn't always consistently work because my mind wasn't in a place where it could work. I was still very distracted. I was kind of all over the place. And when you're not able to get that one cohesive vision for what it is that you do want. And that simply takes time. But that brings me into my next point. It's this, is that, one more topic, one more part to this. About judgment, you have to be very careful saying I'm better than or I'm worse than. Very, very careful with that because you are essentially passing judgment on yourself. So if you are out there and you're walking by someone and you're saying, let's say it's a homeless person, like, oh, I'm better than that person, whatever it might be, you have to be very careful because then you're opening yourself up for judgment as well. This is what I've learned, is that pass no judgment and you feel no judgment. That's why some of these religious teachings, though, are very, very helping, right? Don't judge lest you be judged, right? So, that's the thing. And it all comes from with you as well. If you are always passing judgment, you are in a judgment mindset. And you're worried about what other people are judging you on or saying about you. Now, I have no judgment. Someone does something that I believe, and I might look at it as just like, I have no idea why they would have done that. But I come from a standpoint of really non-judgment. Am I perfect? No. But I just say, listen, I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know what's going on with them, their life, their teaching, their beliefs. I have no idea. But they're probably not doing it from a malicious standpoint. So I don't know what's going on with them. I'm not going to judge. I don't want to be judged. I don't judge others. Really, it's just such an important point. And of course, these aren't things that I'm coming up with. These are things of thousands of years of passed down knowledge. Now, that does lead me to this next part, though. It's this, is that no one is in charge of your happiness. This is so important. No one is in charge of your happiness except for you. That's it. And that's a tough one to swallow because it really means that it all resides within you. I used to believe that, okay, I need to make this person happy so that I can be happy. I need to do this for my career so that I can be happy. I need for this to happen so I can be happy. No, it's that is not the way that it works. No one or anything out there cannot be the source of your happiness. You, and from inside of you, have to create that happiness. I want to do a separate podcast on this as well, but there seems to be a thought process that if you do something, then you'll be happy. If you find the right person, then you'll be happy. If you get into the right career, if you transform your body, if you get your health back, then you'll be happy. It does not work that way. And it took me a long time to figure that out. In order for you to get the perfect relationship, the perfect career, the perfect body in terms of overall health as well and wellness, and that spirituality, is you actually have to be happy first. That's the hard part. And nobody teaches that. And I do want to do a separate show on this because I want to break this down. Those things come into your life when you're already at the frequency, vibrational level of thinking, level of visualization that comes from a person who's already content with who they are. They may want more out of life, but it doesn't mean that they're not already content right now. And that's why I go back to what I always talk about, gratitude and perspective. I'm grateful for everything that I have right now and everything that I've gone through and everything that I've seen, everyone that I've met. It's all led to where I am right now. It's taught me so much. And the perspective is this, that I've been in far worse places, that I might not be exactly where I want to be in life, but it's so much better than where I was. And where I am right now is great. I'm happy with that. But I'm also excited for the future. That's the difference. Happy where you are right now, grateful where you are right now and for what you have and all the people that surround you. Perspective that it could be so much worse. And excitement for the future of how much better it's even going to be. That is, if you can live by that, if you can embody that, that's happiness. But happiness is not external. You have to literally draw it out of yourself. I see so many people that are unhappy, and they think that when they get well, they'll be happy. I don't know that that's the key. We have to get them well so they have more energy, that's for sure, and their brain has more energy. But the happiness will never come from something external. It has to come in from within, and it's already there. It's a change in mindset. It's a change in perspective. It does not happen overnight, but you can make it happen. That leads me to this next one as well, is that sometimes we're just overthinking it. We really are. We need to stay calm. We need to understand that it's okay to not always have the answers. And that was a big one for me, for sure. I always thought I needed to be in control and that I had to have all the answers and I already had to have it figured out. Now, I find my life to be a little bit more playful and a little bit more of an adventure. Trying to get back to, the excitement of being a kid. And of like, I see my daughters as kind of like, well, whatever happened yesterday, all they're focused on really is right now, today. They want that snack right now. They want to watch their favorite show right now. They want to go out and play right now. Not even in 2 minutes from now. They want it right now. And it's just kind of like this playfulness of, this is what excites me right now. And I talk about that with my wife a lot too. And sometimes I'm just saying to her, listen, like we're content where we are in terms of our daughter's school and where we live in the city. And we're having that challenging time. Should we leave the city? Should we move out to the suburbs? Get a house? Should we get that backyard? All of those things that, we think that we may want. Or do we stay in the city where I get to walk to work, where our girls go to school, where we have lots of friends, like all of those things. And it's, it's kind of like one or the other. You're trying to figure it out and there's no right answer and there's probably no wrong answer. And it's just saying like, sometimes you don't need to like overthink it. And like, that's the thing. If we're happy right now, let's stay. But if there's also the other flip side to that is, hey, like maybe it's time for that new adventure. Maybe it's time to just get out there. Like, is it really going to be the wrong decision? I don't think so. Because you get to make of whatever decision you decide to make. So if we want to make a new life in some other part, like we're not going to move, 6 hours away. We're going to move what? Like 20 minutes, 30 minutes outside the city. Do we want to make a new life there? It's not like we let everything go, but it'll be a new adventure. It'll be a little bit more quiet, a little bit more peace than the city life we have right now. But again, there's nothing wrong with that either. So it's one of those things where sometimes though, overthinking it, right? You kind of talk around in circles. And that's what we're doing right now. So that's just an example, like way overthinking it. But for me, and a lot of times perspective with how I work right now, people ask me like, what's your three-year plan in terms of like my career and company and all that? I don't have one. I don't have one. I'm enjoying the process. That's where I've gotten to right now. I'm literally enjoying the process. I like where my health's at. I'm good with my body transformation, good with my relationships, good with my business, good with my spirituality. I'm good. I'm happy. So now I allow for the process to unfold. And I keep myself open to all possibility. That's it. And then when something seems like it's the right fit, and I also can't, like that thought just keeps coming back over and over, and it always kind of brings itself up no matter kind of how much I forget about it, I say, okay, this isn't going away. This is something that my being inside me is telling me you should do. And when that happens, I've really contemplated, really thought about it, then it's time. But I'm not overthinking it. I'm actually allowing a lot of things to be the right gut decision, okay? The right instinctual based decision. Now, I use analytics with that. I don't make a foolish decision, but that is where I allow a lot of times my life to go. Does this feel like it's the right decision? And one of the ways that you can actually test that is, I'm not talking about muscle testing, but yes, you could do that. But what I'm actually saying is this, is do you kind of tense up, especially around the stomach, when you think about making that decision? Or does it make you feel lighter? And if it makes you feel lighter and a little bit excited, it's telling you something that may be the direction to move. And then think about it. And that's the direction to move, but is it the right decision at the right time? That's how I look at things. We'll talk about that more in the future as well. All right, the last one is this. So it's like before we're overthinking things, like that's our analytical mind, right? It's just running on overdrive, and there's never a shortage of things to think about, contemplate, and worry about. Okay. So I like to go about my days this. I've always tried to implement this. I really have. It's even when I wasn't feeling well, I would just smile. Like I try to smile as much as possible, as ridiculous as that sounds. I really do. And because what it does is it's basically telling myself that life is short. You need to begin to enjoy it. If not now, when? And it goes back to one of my favorite quotes that I had hanging on the back of my door through my senior year of high school when I wasn't feeling well, and of course into college. When I would come back from college, it would be there. It was just a drawing that I created. And it was a quote from the Dave Matthews Band, and it said, "The future is no place to place your better days." And I would try to live by that because at the time, I wasn't feeling well. But I realized that even though I'm not feeling well, I still can't let this day pass. I can't let this one go because you only get so many. And at the end of the day, it's probably not as bad as we're making it out to be. And I found this. Combine the smile with the breath work. So you breathe in through your nose, you smile, you breathe out through your mouth or out through your nose, you let that stress go. You breathe out the stress and you breathe in the energy. You breathe in the relaxation. And you tell yourself that you just don't own all of the problems out there in the world. They're not all yours. We each have our own struggle. And again, that goes back to a lot of these, right? Making peace with your past. Being very careful about worrying about what others have to say about you. Understanding that time heals pretty much everything. Making sure that you understand that no one is in charge of you but you. That this is your life to make of it what you wish, what you choose. And hopefully part of that is in the service to others as well. Make sure never to judge, compare yourself with others. It's a dangerous game that always comes back to get you in the end. And that we can't overthink things. And if we do that, we follow a lot of these principles, I think we're going to smile a lot more naturally in the first place. So thank you so much for tuning into today's show. Always enjoyable for me to be able to work through these topics with you. I feel that no doubt I get benefit every time I'm doing these Motivation and Mindset Mondays. It reinforces a lot of what I've read, a lot of what I've listened to, a lot of the seminars that I've been to, and hopefully at least some of it is starting to permeate your life as well. If you're enjoying them, if you're getting something out of it, please do feel free to pass this show along with anyone else you believe it could serve. Take care, everyone. Have an amazing day. Ever wonder what the best sauna, blue blockers, sleep trackers, wake lights, salt lamps, or other health gadgets are? Or what about the top non-toxic mattresses, sheets, soaps, bath products, toothpaste, and cookware? Or would you like to know the cleanest choices for hemp parts, meal delivery services, supplements, and much more? I personally curated, researched, and now created a resource page of all of my top picks that continues to grow each week. These are the exact products I use in my own life, with my family, in my private practice, and they're the ones I trust. To find out all of my up-to-date recommendations and all the details, simply head on over to stephencabral.com/resources.